What if I told you that the heaviest thing you're carrying isn't in your hands, isn't in your bag, isn't even visible to anyone else, but it's crushing you nonetheless? What if that invisible weight has been stealing your joy, your sleep, your sense of worthiness for years, maybe even decades, and you've gotten so used to it that you've forgotten what it feels like to stand up straight? I'm talking about guilt and shame, those twin demons that whisper in your ear that you're not good enough, that you've done something unforgivable, that you don't deserve happiness. And here's the really wild part. Most of what you're carrying isn't even yours to carry. Take a breath with me right now, a real one, because I need you to know something before we go any further. You are not broken. You are not damaged beyond repair. You are not the worst thing you've ever done or the most embarrassing moment you've ever experienced. You're a beautiful human being who made some mistakes, who's been hurt, who's been conditioned to believe that suffering is somehow noble or necessary. And sweetheart, it's time to put that burden down. I see you. I see you replaying that moment from 15 years ago at 2 in the morning. I see you apologizing for taking up space, for having needs, for simply existing. I see you punishing yourself in 1,000 tiny ways, denying yourself joy because some part of you believes you don't deserve it. I see you carrying shame that was handed to you by people who were carrying their own shame, passed down like some terrible family heirloom nobody actually wants. And I'm here to tell you that you can break that cycle right now, today, in this very moment. Here's what most people don't understand about guilt and shame. They're actually two completely different things, even though we use the words interchangeably. Guilt says, I did something bad. Shame says, I am bad. Guilt is about behavior. Shame is about identity. Guilt can actually be useful because it tells us we violated our own values and it motivates us to make amends or change our behavior. But shame? Oh, honey. Shame is toxic. Shame doesn't motivate change. It paralyzes us. It makes us hide. It convinces us we're fundamentally flawed and unworthy of love, and most of us are drowning in shame without even realizing it. Let me paint you a picture. You made a mistake 20 years ago. Maybe you hurt someone. Maybe you failed at something important. Maybe you broke a promise to yourself. Whatever it was, it happened and it was done. But instead of learning from it and moving forward, you've been carrying it like a scarlet letter, pulling it out to examine it, using it as evidence in the case against yourself. You've essentially appointed yourself as both prosecutor and judge in a trial that never ends, and you keep finding yourself guilty over and over again. Meanwhile, the person you hurt has probably moved on, forgiven you, or forgotten about it entirely. The only person still in prison is you, and darling, you're both the prisoner and the jailer. You have the key. Here's what's really happening in your body and mind when you carry guilt and shame. Your nervous system can't tell the difference between a real threat and a perceived one. When you're replaying that shameful memory, when you're beating yourself up for past mistakes, your body responds as if you're in actual danger right now. Your cortisol levels spike. Your heart rate increases. Your immune system gets suppressed. You're literally making yourself sick with thoughts about things that are already over and done with. Your beautiful body is trying to protect you from a threat that exists only in your mind, and it's exhausting both of you. There's something else happening too. Shame thrives in darkness and secrecy. It grows in the places where you hide things from yourself and others. It feeds on isolation. That's why shame always whispers, "Don't tell anyone, they'll think you're terrible, you have to keep this hidden." But here's the truth that shame doesn't want you to know. When you bring things into the light, when you speak them out loud, when you share them with safe people, shame loses its power. It's like a vampire meeting the sun. It can't survive exposure. Connection and compassion are the antidotes to shame, but you have to be willing to be vulnerable first. Now, let's talk about where all this shame came from in the first place, because I promise you weren't born with it. Babies don't feel shame. Toddlers don't feel shame. They're messy and loud and demanding and completely unself-conscious. Shame is learned. It was taught to you by people who were doing their best, but who carried their own wounds and limitations. Maybe you were told you were too much or not enough. Maybe your natural impulses and emotions were criticized or punished. Maybe you were compared to siblings or peers and found wanting. Maybe you internalized messages from your culture, your religion, your community about what makes someone good or bad, worthy or unworthy. Here's something that might blow your mind. Most of the shame you carry isn't even about things you did wrong. It's about who you are, your personality, your body, your desires, your needs, your sensitivity, your ambitions, your very existence. You've been walking around feeling guilty for being human, for having needs, for making mistakes, for not being perfect. And perfection, my love, is not the goal. It's not even possible. You're supposed to be human, messy, flawed, learning, growing, falling down, getting back up. That's the whole point. So how do we actually release this weight? How do we break free from guilt and shame that feels so deeply embedded in our identity? Let me walk you through this step by step, and I promise you, it's simpler than you think. Not always easy, but definitely simple. First, you have to name what you're carrying. Get specific. Write it down. What are you feeling guilty about? What are you ashamed of? Don't just say, "I feel bad about myself." That's too vague. Say, "I feel guilty for yelling at my child last week. I feel ashamed of my body. I feel guilty for ending that relationship. I feel ashamed that I didn't finish college." Whatever it is, name it clearly. You can't release what you won't acknowledge. Shame wants to stay vague and unnamed because that's how it maintains power. Drag it into the light. Second, ask yourself this powerful question. Whose voice is that? When you hear that internal criticism, when you feel that wave of shame, stop and really listen. Whose voice are you hearing? Is it your mother's, your father's, a teacher's, a pastor's, an ex-partner's, society's? Most of the time, that critical voice isn't even yours. It's an internalized message from someone else, someone who had their own pain and limitations. Once you realize you're carrying someone else's judgment, it becomes much easier to set it down. You can say, "Thank you for trying to protect me or teach me, but this doesn't serve me anymore. I'm choosing a different voice now." Third, separate the behavior from your identity. If you did something you regret, own it, acknowledge it, make amends if that's possible and appropriate, but don't make it mean something about your fundamental worth as a human being. You are not your worst moment. You are not your biggest mistake. You are a complex, evolving person who sometimes gets it wrong. That doesn't make you bad. That makes you human. Say it with me. I am not my mistakes. I am a person who is learning and growing. 4th, practice radical self-compassion. This is huge. Most of us are so mean to ourselves in ways we would never dream of treating another person. We say things to ourselves that would end friendships if we said them out loud to someone else. So here's what I want you to do. When you notice guilt or shame coming up, imagine you're talking to your best friend or a small child who just made a mistake. What would you say to them? How would your voice sound? What comfort would you offer? Now, say those exact same things to yourself. Put your hand on your heart and say, I see you're hurting. I understand why you feel this way. You're doing the best you can. I love you anyway. 5th, understand that guilt is asking you to do something. If you feel genuinely guilty about something you did, that guilt is information. It's telling you that you violated one of your own values. So listen to it. What does it want you to do? Apologize to someone? Make amends? Change a behavior? Do something differently next time? Once you take appropriate action, the guilt has served its purpose and you can let it go. Guilt is supposed to be a messenger, not a permanent resident. Thank it for the message, take the action, and release it. 6th, challenge the shame stories. Shame loves to deal in absolutes. Always, never, everyone, nobody. I always mess things up. I'll never be good enough. Everyone thinks I'm terrible. Nobody could love me if they knew the real me. These are lies. They're cognitive distortions. Start catching these thoughts and challenging them. Is it really true that you always mess things up? What about all the times you got it right? Is it really true that nobody could love you? What about the people who already do? Shame can't survive scrutiny. When you start questioning its claims, it falls apart. 7th, find safe people to share with. This is scary, I know, but it's also incredibly powerful. Find a trusted friend, a therapist, a support group, someone who's earned the right to hear your story, and tell them what you're carrying. Tell them what you're ashamed of. Tell them what you've been hiding. 9 times out of 10, they'll respond with compassion and understanding, often sharing their own similar experiences. And suddenly you'll realize you're not alone. You're not uniquely terrible. You're just human. Connection dissolves shame every single time. Now let me give you the affirmations that will help rewire your mind and release this emotional prison. Say these with me. Hand on heart, with all the love you can find, I release all guilt and shame. I am worthy of love exactly as I am. I forgive myself completely. I am learning and growing every day. My past does not define my worth. I am free from the need to be perfect. I deserve compassion, especially from myself. I release all judgment of myself. I am doing the best I can with what I know. I am enough, right now, just as I am. I let go of shame that was never mine to carry. I am worthy of joy and peace. I choose to see myself through the eyes of love. I am free. I am forgiven. I am whole. Here's something beautiful that happens when you start releasing guilt and shame. You become lighter. You start to breathe more deeply. Colors seem brighter. Joy becomes accessible again. You stop sabotaging yourself. You allow good things to come into your life because you finally believe you deserve them. You become more compassionate with others because you're no longer projecting your own self-judgment onto them. You become free to be who you really are instead of who you think you should be. This is the gift that's waiting for you on the other side of this release. I want to be real with you about something. This isn't a one-and-done situation. You're not going to say some affirmations and suddenly be free of guilt and shame forever. This is a practice. You're unwinding patterns that have been with you for years, maybe your whole life. Some days will be easier than others. Some days that old shame will rear its head and you'll have to consciously choose a different response. That's okay. That's normal. That's the process. Every time you choose self-compassion over self-criticism, every time you challenge a shame thought, every time you speak your truth to a safe person, you're building new neural pathways. You're training your mind to relate to yourself differently. Be patient with the process. And listen, if you hurt someone, if you genuinely did something wrong, making amends is part of healing. But making amends doesn't mean drowning in guilt forever. It means acknowledging the harm, apologizing if appropriate, learning from it, and doing better going forward. Then you let it go. You don't get to punish yourself indefinitely. That doesn't serve anyone, not you, not the person you hurt, not the world. The most powerful thing you can do after making a mistake is to become a person who doesn't make that same mistake again. Transform the guilt into growth. That's how you honor the lesson without staying trapped in the shame. Here's your action step, the thing I want you to do right this second. Choose one thing you've been feeling guilty or ashamed about. Write it down on a piece of paper. Look at it. Really see it. Then write underneath it, I forgive myself for this. I release this. I am free. Then, if it feels right, tear up that paper or burn it safely. Do something physical that symbolizes letting it go. And notice how your body feels. Notice if there's any shift, any lightness, any relief. That's your freedom starting to emerge. That's your true self coming back online. Tomorrow, do this with something else. Keep going. Keep releasing. Layer by layer, stone by stone, you're unburdening yourself. You're reclaiming your energy, your joy, your worthiness. This is your birthright. You came into this world innocent and worthy, and that innocence and worthiness never actually left. It just got buried under layers of conditioning and pain and judgment. Now you're excavating, you're uncovering who you really are underneath all that shame. And who you are is magnificent. I want you to know that I'm proud of you for being here, for being willing to look at this, for being brave enough to consider that maybe you don't have to carry this anymore. That takes courage. That takes strength. You have both in abundance, even if you can't always feel it. You're stronger than you know, more resilient than you believe, and more worthy than you've allowed yourself to accept. It's time to step into that truth. So go gently with yourself today. Speak kindly to yourself. Treat yourself like someone you love, because you are someone worthy of love, your own love most of all. And if this message resonated with you, if something shifted, drop a comment below and share one thing you're ready to release. Let's create a community of people who are choosing freedom over shame, love over judgment, compassion over criticism. Subscribe so we can continue this healing journey together. You don't have to do this alone. We're all finding our way back to wholeness, back to innocence, back to the truth of who we really are. I'll see you in the next one. Until then, be free. You deserve nothing less.